Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. So in this video I'm going to share with you my breastfeeding an older baby or breastfeeding a toddler, my tips, my advice and also some questions that I've been asked over on Instagram. So I just put up a little question box and a few people wanted to ask me some questions. So I'm just kind of going to like merge it all together, trying to do it a bit ordered, but yeah, so if I've got a tip about something then I'll also do a question and answer at the same time, if that makes sense. But I'll try and leave some timestamps below so you can like skip to different bits if you'd like to hear about certain things. So if you are new to my channel and you don't already know me, then firstly hello and welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video. My son Arthur is 2 years old, so I am obviously still breastfeeding him, and our journey was very tough in the beginning. He had a tongue tie, he had it cut, and then he was still just couldn't breastfeed. So we went back and eventually they found he had either another one or, you know, the one that they cut, they hadn't kind of cut it properly or fully. And basically he wasn't able to breastfeed for 5 months. So I was exclusively expressing and like still trying to breastfeed as well, but yeah, he just couldn't really do it really until he was 5 months old. So it was quite a tough journey, but obviously since then we have been breastfeeding and we still are now. So if you would like to hear any more about my breastfeeding journey, or also I've done a video about expressing and also a video about getting the baby back to the breast after a period of not breastfeeding, or you know, or maybe there's some sort of issue about breastfeeding. So yeah, I'll link my breastfeeding like playlist and other videos down below. So I hope that you find like this whole video useful if you are either planning to breastfeed, if you're thinking about kind of carrying on, if you know maybe you haven't had your baby yet but you are considering breastfeeding and you just want to know more, more about breastfeeding older baby, then I really hope that this video helps in some way. If you've got any other questions or something I say doesn't make sense, I do tend to ramble sometimes, then do let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you. So yes, let's start off with a few questions about me and Arthur. So the first one is, how many feeds does Arthur have at the moment? So he does still have a few, and obviously this will vary person to person. I know some people who have a child the same age as Arthur and they literally just feed, I think like twice, kind of, you know, when they wake up, when they go to bed, maybe one in the nap, but Arthur does more than that. So he'll feed when we wake up, maybe even another one like after we've gotten dressed and gotten ready, just before breakfast. He often wants another one, so that's 2. If we are going out, so it does depend if we're going out or staying in. So if we're going out, he will probably want a breastfeed when we get there, so that's 3. And then he wants 1, he always like go to sleep for his nap. He only has 1 nap obviously now, and so that's another one, so that's 4. And then sometimes when he wakes up he'll have 1, but not always, and that has been a change. Like he always used to have a feed after we wake up, but sometimes he doesn't. So there's another one there, and then there may be one like before tea time or like at some point as well, like kind of like early evening or late afternoon. And then again when we go to bed, and sometimes it takes a while to drop off. So there may be like 1 feed, but he doesn't like quite get to sleep. So he, you know, he wakes up, but then he'll have like another one when he goes to sleep. And then he does also have a few feeds overnight. So recently he's been sleeping a little bit better actually. So he does still wake up at night, but he sometimes will have maybe, I would say recently, like just a couple overnight. There have been nights where it's like seemed every hour, and there's been loads. So there is still quite a lot, but I definitely have noticed pretty recently actually that there have been a couple of feeds that he seems to be dropping. As I said, the one after he wakes up from a nap, and then sometimes the one when I say like we get to a place, or if we're at home, like often there isn't one now between say breakfast and like lunchtime, whereas there always used to be one. So I think it is kind of lessening, and you know, and obviously as they get older they will naturally probably drop some feeds anyway. So yeah, I lost count now, but yeah, he does still have quite a few feeds. Someone did ask about nighttime, so yeah, as I said, he does feed at night, and we co-sleep, so he is in our bed here. I do have the cot, as you can see, but the mattress is still quite high, but that, you know, I've just kind of like kept that there as like a bed guard really, and also stuff just tends to end up being dumped in it, but yeah, he does actually sleep in the bed with us. So sometimes during the night, because I will say actually, somebody asked about positions, like at night time, very rarely he'll feed on me led down. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because sometimes he sleeps on his tummy, so it's kind of like is a bit difficult. Like as soon as I try like roll him on his side, he just wants to sit up and feed on me that way. So most of the time, daytime and nighttime, actually no, most of the time nighttime, sometimes in the daytime, and when he's going to sleep, he'll sit kind of, you know, like here, like his head is here, and his legs are like on my lap, and he's like facing this way, if that makes sense. And what he'll do now, he'll just go like on side to side he wants. So, you know, he'll start on this side, like his head's here, and then, whereas when he was younger, I used to like take him off my lap and like turn him round so he was facing that way. Now he'll just carry on there, and I'll just like put his head here and like feed on this side, which isn't always that comfortable, but we've kind of just adjusted it. So that's the position he does. And then also I would say in the day he tends to feed, sometimes he'll feed like if we're both on the floor, if I like we've been playing or something, so he'll kind of like sit in between my legs, and he's sat on his bottom and just like leans forward. Or sometimes what he likes is me sat on the settee and him stood up in between my legs. And I will say, when he first started doing this, so he did used to try all different sorts of positions, you know, and be like an acrobat, and yeah, just like all these different crazy positions, which was quite difficult, and it could be quite painful sometimes as well. Sometimes when he would be standing up, he would literally just like put his whole weight when he was feeding, which, you know, is quite painful, and I'd be trying to like to support his weight whilst he was standing up. But what I would say, if that happens with you, I think you just have to try and set some boundaries, really. You know, obviously they are a bit older, so their understanding is good, you know, so you kind of just need to be a bit firm. But also I think it does wear off a bit, so I think when they first realise that they can breastfeed in all these weird and wonderful positions, I think it just must be like exciting for them. I don't know, they're just like trying it out, it's more interesting maybe. But definitely like over time that seemed to like lessen, and as I said, he still does these positions which, you know, he can't do when we're out, but it's not too bad. So yeah, he stands up, and that's the only kind of weird one. But when it first started, he would like be stood up to the side of me and like be like bending right over. And yeah, I do see sometimes, you've probably seen it as well, like Instagram, like memes where like a toddler is breastfeeding, their like legs are in the air and stuff. He's never done that. But yeah, I would just say, if you are uncomfortable and your child is trying to breastfeed in this, like either just kind of wait and see, because it might just like wear off, or just try and like set some boundaries, and, you know, just tell them that you prefer to breastfeed in this position. Someone also asked, when do I plan to stop? Or do I plan to stop? You know, am I going to let him self-wean? Because it's funny actually, when I was pregnant, I always just thought that I would breastfeed at least for a year, and I was thinking in my head maybe 18 months. And then I remember somebody sharing on Instagram, and it's completely true, that like the natural weaning age is actually between 2 and 7, and it just clicked because I hadn't even realised before. I guess I haven't put that much thought into it, like stopping. But, you know, if you want to stop them before they are ready to stop, obviously you have to stop them. I mean, you know, obviously they say just don't offer it anymore, you know, don't refuse but don't offer either. But yeah, it didn't really like occur to me, that bit, and I just thought, oh no, like I don't think I'd be comfortable with that. So I don't know. So obviously we're at 2. I've got no plans to stop. Ideally I will let him self-wean. Being completely honest, me and Matt do want a second baby, not like anytime soon, but, you know, however many years down the line. So if Arthur is still breastfeeding, it might be, because sometimes I think your milk changes when you are pregnant, and I think sometimes they do naturally wean then. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'll probably feel like really guilty if that happens. So yeah, I'm not really sure, but yeah, you know, that's kind of not anytime soon. So for now, yeah, I've definitely got no plans to stop. I would love for him just to like continue until he feels ready to stop. Okay, another question that I got asked is about my period. When did they return? So for me, because I think somebody did say like their baby is 6 months old and they're worried. So my period didn't actually come back until Arthur was almost 2. So it was a long time, and I was getting a bit worried, if I'm honest. And I had actually literally just made an appointment with a doctor. I think it was like the next day or a few days time, and then my period did return. But you know, if you're worried, then just make an appointment and see if you can request like blood tests and stuff, like hormones. Obviously, when you are breastfeeding, your hormones are all over the place, they're different, and you know, yeah, periods can take a while to return. And apparently I have read that it's more likely that they'll come back once your baby is like having less feeds at night time. I don't know if that's true. If you know, let me know. But I'll be honest with you, mine did come back literally, it was really random actually. Arthur did sleep the whole night. The next day I had some like bleeding. So yeah, I reckon there probably is some truth in that. It just seems like a very much a coincidence, but let me know if you know, or if you've breastfed other children and your periods have come back after that kind of thing. Yeah, I'd be really interested to hear. So some kind of like tips or ways that I've felt helpful when Arthur has his teeth get in the way or he actively tries to bite or does bite. And I did have a few questions about this as well, like how I deal with it. So, I mean, it's never been too bad, to be honest with you, but I remember quite a few months ago, he did get in a habit of just biting me before every feed, and it is painful. It's really painful. And well, one time it was, extremely painful, and I did have a cut, it was torn, and then every time he would feed, obviously because it was already cut, I would just like cringe, like because I was really nervous about hurting again, and I would also cringe because I was worried about him biting. Like every time he went on, I'd be thinking, oh, like, is he gonna bite me? And then like also even since then, there may be like the very occasional one where he does it, but it's not very often at all, and I think maybe he's just like playing about, and if I say no, like it doesn't happen again. But I think sometimes when he has, like when he's teething, if he's got like a new tooth coming through, it does kind of change things. I can kind of feel his teeth like grating on me, and it is a bit uncomfortable, it is a bit painful. And I guess it's just because maybe he's like getting used to his new teeth, like the teeth are there than they didn't used to be, so I can feel them. Or maybe it's just a bit more soothing, like maybe if it's painful, maybe his mouth is like a bit more closed or something. I'm not really sure. So for biting, what I used to do, because I found that he would literally bite once at the very beginning and then he wouldn't do it again. So what I used to do when he used to come for a feed, I actually used to I would let him like, almost like latch on, and I actually put like my little knuckle there and let him like have that, and he would actually go, and he would bite on it, and it did like a really big bite, like really like he'd like shake with like how hard he was biting almost. And then I would stop, and then obviously he'd be like, oh yeah, what am I biting? That's not, milk's not gonna come out of there. And then he would go on and it would be okay. Not saying that's gonna work for everyone, but something like that might be worthwhile trying. But that's kind of how I found it for me. Also, make sure that you just say no, don't bite, and like if they keep doing it, if they keep persisting with biting, just stop the feed. Because if they are a bit older and they will come to understand that if they bite, the feed ends. In terms of if it's just their teeth getting in the way, like I said, it happens when Arthur is teething, then you kind of just need to think about going back to basics and looking at your position, because I think definitely as the child gets older and they're doing all these weird positions as well, which doesn't help. And I think both of you kind of get a bit like lazy with your positioning, because Arthur would just come on and he'll, like I said, he'll just like stand or sit however he wants to. You don't need to like worry about the latch as you were when they were really small. So I think sometimes that kind of leads to like a bit of a bad habits really, but which is fine, it doesn't matter. But obviously if it then begins to hurt, you just need to remember, maybe you need to like just tweak the position a bit. Is their head like back enough? Look at where their lips are, is their mouth wide enough? I've told Arthur to like open his mouth a bit wider. I've like tweaked him, I've just like moved his like bottom over a bit. Make sure that you do really support their weight, or at least their weight is supported, so they're not like hanging on you, because that's painful. But yeah, just kind of like tweak it really. And as I said, if it's not comfortable for you, then you just need to tell them. But also just like bear with it. So I know a lot of people say, oh, but I'm worried about this, I'm worried about teething, like am I going to stop breastfeeding when teeth start coming through, even when they're younger? But I'll just say, like, if it is painful, it is just a phase, like it doesn't last for long. And yeah, you might get the phase later on, it might come again, but it doesn't last for long. So kind of just like hang in there, do what you can to like stop it or help it, but it should kind of eventually improve. Also, not all babies bite anyway, so it might not even ever be a problem for you. So try not to worry about it too much. Someone asked, they're going away for the night, so do they need to express milk? So, I mean, this probably varies person to person. So I think this baby was 1.5 years old. So obviously, if your baby doesn't like feed at night, you probably don't need to worry about it. But if they are still feeding at night, and I don't know if you're worried either because it's like a supply issue, or is it more like a like not being comfortable yourself because you'll be full. So I mean, I guess if your baby does feed during the night and then you're not with them, I would say it's probably worth, even if it's just like hand expressing a little bit, just to kind of like relieve it. But if your baby is 1.5 years or or older, your supply is very well established. And as I said, like I've had nights where there was one night, like I said, like Arthur like pretty much slept through, or sometimes, you know, he might just wake up twice, but there are nights when he's up every hour. But you know, the nights where he's not really woken up, like I said, I might just feel quite full, and you know, it's a relief when he does feed, but you know, it's not really like affected my supply. So I don't think you really need to worry about your supply. Obviously, if you are worried, then you know, you could just do a little bit, but I would probably say, because you probably will be uncomfortable like come the morning, so I would definitely say it's worth hand expressing. I mean, if you have a pump and you don't mind doing it, then you know, you could just do it, say like just before you go to sleep, and then again when you wake up. I don't know, you don't necessarily need to like wake up during the night, I wouldn't say, and do it, but you know, I usually find that I wake up, if Arthur doesn't wake up, I wake up myself anyway. So if you do that, even if you're not with them, you might wake up at like 4 or 5 and you feel like you're quite full and it's not comfortable, then just, you know, take a bit off them, whether that's using a pump or, you know, just hand expressing it. I would also say if you are, you know, like leaving your baby, then, I mean, you probably would anyway, but you know, try and make sure that they feed like just before you leave them, and then I'm sure like when you come back to them, I'm sure they'll probably want to feed anyway. But yeah, obviously just to like shorten that time when they've not had a feed, just to help you out. I also really wanted to talk about feeding in public. So in general, feeding in public is, or can be, a bit of a issue for people, for everyone involved. So, you know, as the breastfeeding parent, you might not feel comfortable, or you might feel that people are looking, and then, you know, there are people out there who will, you know, look at you and don't like people breastfeeding in general, and don't like people breastfeeding in public, which is not nice, it's really tough. So for me, I mean, people are kind of on like a spectrum of like how discreet. Some people, you know, they don't care, and you know, they don't mind if like some flesh shows, that's fine. But you know, and there are other people who really don't want to like show anything, and you know what, they might not even do it, they might go to like the toilet or something, which, you know, is really sad. I understand it because I've done it as well. I think as your baby gets older, you do get more confident, and I think you care less as well, to be honest with you. For me, the way I've always been like, not like very discreet, and if I'm honest with you, I actually feel more confident out in like public, probably because like it's not people I know, people aren't that like in close proximity, as opposed to if I'm like with my family, I do feel a bit like, oh, you know, we're all like sat around a room. Depends who it is. If it's just my mum and my sister, it wouldn't really bother me, but you know, if it's male figures of the family, then I often go to another room, which is fine. And to be honest with you, Arthur often gets distracted anyway, so you know, I don't mind doing that. I think you can just breastfeed wherever you want. You know, I don't care if I see flesh, and I try and like smile at people, but then I don't want to like, I try like show support, like well done for breastfeeding in public, because you know, I think it definitely needs to be normalised, especially for older babies, because I mean, to be honest with you, I don't see that many people breastfeeding, and especially older babies, toddlers, which I think is a shame. And I think, you know, I think that's probably part of the problem, because it's not seen as being normal by a lot of people. A lot of people don't like it. But then obviously that makes it more difficult for people maybe who are considering breastfeeding, but if like they don't ever see it, they don't ever see other people breastfeeding, or they know of a lot of people that don't like it or don't like to see it, then that's not gonna like help them, and they may end up either cutting their breastfeeding journey short or not even considering it to begin with, which is a real shame. So, you know, definitely like try and breastfeed in public, but you know, if you want to be discreet, there are definitely ways to help. So what I've always done, like in the summer, I find it's really easy. I wear dresses that are like, you know, it's like a prairie style or like Bardo dress, where it's got like, it's like the neckline is here, like a square, but it's elasticated all the way around, like a shirred bust, if you know what I mean, and like that's so easy just to pull down. And if you think that's a bit too much, you could always put a cardigan on, and that kind of like just helps to like cover up here, if that makes you feel a bit better. Or like buttons, obviously button dresses, amazing, wrap dresses as well. In the winter is a bit more difficult, I find. So I usually wear, I mean, to be honest, I don't really care, so I'll just wear what I'm wearing now, like I've got a jumper on and I've got a top underneath, and I'll just like pull up one side. But because I tend to wear like baggy ones, it's much easier. If you try and wear like a tight-ish top or jumper, it's very difficult to like get the material up, whereas when it's baggy, it's just so easy to lift up. Also, the extra like material will just help to like cover you anyway. It'll just naturally drape around your breast and around the baby's head. so you won't feel like so on display. You can obviously also get nursing tops as well, so nursing vest tops, you know, where they've got like the little clip here. You can actually like buy these little clips which you can put on and like customise your own vest tops, but I've never bothered with that. I've only got 2 nursing tops. I don't really wear them that often, if I'm honest with you. But again, if I was like going out and, you know, it's not summer, maybe I would put one on, just so that, you know, you just feel like you've got a bit more coverage on the areas like you don't need to get out, and obviously on your tummy and things like that. But I just think in general, like, layers are really good as well. But yeah, it is hard breastfeeding in public if you're worried about it, but just keep persistent with it. Just know that you are doing an amazing thing for your baby. You are giving your baby their feed, is their comfort, is their drink, and you know that you are doing a great thing, and you're also helping other people that want to breastfeed as well. So yeah, good luck with it, and just keep persevering with it. Another tip that I want to say is just use your boundaries. So, you know, I think when they're older, it does kind of get a bit easier in the way that you understand them a bit more and they understand you a bit more. So if you're out and they want a breastfeed, and you know, you can say to them, oh, you know, we're just doing some shopping, you know, when we get back to the car, you can have one. And, you know, they'll probably understand the gist of it. I mean, also it depends on their age. They might understand that really well, or they might not like quite get it. And also they can tell you as well. It's a lot easier, you know. And again, like I said, if it's hurting, or they're like in a wrong position, or you are somewhere and you can't breastfeed, or you know, maybe you're out and you're thinking, oh, I need to find a seat to sit down to feed them. And if you tell them that, like, sometimes I think they can understand that pretty well when they're a bit older. So that will kind of like help as well. But yeah, you know, it is hard because you don't always want to be telling them, like, if it is, you know, you don't want to breastfeed them, or if you want to stop a feed, obviously I've not done this, but obviously if you do want to stop a feed, you can say no. Like I said, if it hurts, or, you know, if you're trying to get them into the high chair, and, you know, Arthur doesn't always like to get in his high chair, you know, and they want a feed, you can tell them no. It's up to you what you do, but I think it is hard because if you are always telling them no, I think sometimes that can lead to them weaning, because they are thinking, you know, maybe they're never going to get a breastfeed. That is going to make it a bit of a negative experience for them, or they're going to think, well, you know, maybe I just don't need to breastfeed anymore then, or whatever it is. I don't know their thought processes, but yeah, I have read that you know, if you are always saying like no to them, then that's not good in a way, because that might make them want to stop breastfeeding. So if you do need to say no, that's fine, but also make sure that you are also like offering them plenty of time, so that it's not all negative. You know, you're also saying, you know, would you like some milk? And yeah, so I mean, I don't ever really tell Arthur that you can't have a feed, to be honest with you, but because he is older and he does understand, then it is easier to explain to him, you know, that, you know, we're somewhere and I can't do it, or we're driving, I maybe just need to stop the car, and it definitely does help as well. Another tip that I want to say about distraction, so I think babies can get distracted when they're breastfeeding, however old they are, to be honest with you. I mean, at this age, he can just like jump off my lap and he'll just run off. But, you know, I don't really, again, I think it's about boundaries. It's like, okay, you don't want to breastfeed then, and just like get up and say, right, okay, so the feed's over. And they'll just like soon get the hang of it. But yeah, I mean, definitely I find if I'm out at someone's house, just like going to another room is much easier than just like trying to breastfeed them there. One, I feel more comfortable anyway, like I said, but yeah, it's like there's less distractions there. But you know what, if they're distracted and they don't want to come to you, then just let them do it. There's no point worrying about it. They'll come to you when they want one. So, you know, sometimes we've been out and Arthur's gone a lot longer than usual because maybe like we've been seeing family and he's been busy, and then we've gone back to the car and it'll have like a really big feed, and that's fine, you know. So don't worry about it. You know, like sometimes I know in my head I'm thinking, oh, like I think he would really like want a feed around now, but he's too busy. He might be playing with his cousins or something. So yeah, just try not to worry about it, because they will come back to you, and as long as you like offer as well, as soon as like the situation presents itself, just offer them the feed again. Someone asked, would I still be breastfeeding if we didn't have the struggles? Like, have the struggles made me want to breastfeed longer? And like I said a while ago, I didn't ever think I would be breastfeeding this long, but I hadn't really like thought about it in the sense that, you know, if I didn't want to, I'd have to stop it before he was ready. So no, I don't think so. I mean I think, you know, it has had an impact on me, the fact that he wasn't breastfeeding at the breast for the first 5 months, but I'm pretty sure like I would still love it, I would still enjoy it, and that I would still want to carry on. You know, it's also how Arthur gets to sleep as well, and it's his comfort and all of that. So no, I don't. You know, I'm pretty sure that we would still be feeding now, no matter, you know, even if he was breastfeeding from when he was newborn. So someone asked about breast is best versus fed is best and my thoughts on it, and you know, I didn't really know whether to like address it or not or talk about it because it's so controversial, and I thought that's kind of why I need to talk about it. So I actually don't like any of those terms. It kind of annoys me, but you know, like technically breast milk is the best thing for the baby. Biologically, formula is amazing because it can provide the baby with all the nutrients that it needs. So if someone doesn't want to breastfeed or they're unable to, how amazing that we have this man-made stuff, a formula that can actually provide what the baby needs. Because, you know, years and years and years ago, if somebody couldn't breastfeed and formula wasn't available, then the baby isn't going to survive. So it is amazing. However, it won't ever completely replicate breast milk, because obviously breast milk changes. If it's hot, your breast milk becomes more watery, so to keep the baby hydrated. Sorry, my camera cut out, hopefully that was okay, but yeah, if your baby's ill, your body can sense it, and it provides antibodies. It, like I said, it like changes as well. Like if it's nighttime, your body will produce like a different kind of milk to make them more sleepy. So it's amazing. Obviously formula will never be able to copy that. It's impossible. Obviously formula is kind of like one size fits all, but it is amazing we've got it. So breast is best is true. And you know, when people say, oh, but breast isn't best, fed is best, it does annoy me because I think, well, no, breast is best. However, having said that, I understand that for people, you know, maybe like me then, in those first few months, where, you know, well, I mean, it was still breast milk, but you know, obviously people that aren't able to breastfeed but that would like to, fed is best might provide a little bit of comfort, because, you know, they know breast milk might be best, but actually as long as your baby's fed, that's the main thing, obviously. And also I think fed is best has kind of come from a place of people having to feel defensive, whether they're breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or both, you know, formula feeding, which is kind of annoying because that's obviously where it stemmed from, which is a bit of a shame because it shouldn't be controversial. You know, we all want to feed however we want to feed, and that's that. A lot of people say informed is best, or I think, was it informed or supported is best, i.e. I imagine that's because they're trying to say, you know, if people knew breastfeeding is best, or if they had support with breastfeeding, then they would breastfeed, which, you know, I agree with to a certain extent. Breastfeeding isn't always easy. It might be like, you know, normal, but it's not always easy, and I think some people have misconceptions about it. As I said, like a lot of people don't agree with it, so if you are in a family where no one agrees with it, you're probably not going to breastfeed, even if you might kind of want to, and it must be hard. So yeah, those people need the support, that like catchment of people that, you know, if they had the support would breastfeed. That's, you know, I think it's important to like catch them and help them and support them. But yeah, fed is best annoys me because it's like, well, obviously fed it's just a bit obvious, because it's like, if you don't feed your baby, well, yeah, what else you got to do then? Like, obviously fed is best. Obviously it's better than what? Not feeding them. I mean, no one's going to not feed their baby because your baby won't live, you know, basically. So all of that kind of annoys me. But like I said, I kind of get where it's come from, and, you know, it might provide some comfort. And, you know, you don't have to justify yourself either. You know, if you want to breastfeed, go for it, because that is the best thing for the baby. If you can't breastfeed though, it's very hard to know that other people are breastfeeding. So, you know, if these things bring you comfort, then so be it. There are also people who just don't want to. You know, there are some people that might have had some trauma, and, you know, hearing fed is best might just like help them deal with the fact that they aren't breastfeeding. So yeah, that's just like a bit of a roundup really. I hope that's like made sense, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. So I don't really like using any of those terms, because I think it's, I don't know, I just feel like it kind of leads to more people being defensive, which is a shame, because I think we should all just feed our baby how we want. But obviously, like I said, I hope the people that don't realise how good breastfeeding is, I hope they are supported and they can learn more, and then, you know, and then if they decide actually yes they do want to breastfeed, then that's amazing. Or people that need support, if they get it and then they go on to breastfeed, I think that's incredible. But yeah, I think we just all need to kind of like do what we want and stop judging. But I think there is a lot of judging and it is really hard. But, you know, breastfeeding is incredible. I love it. You know, and I would say to anyone, you know, that if you feel you want to try, then like please do try it. because, you know, it is so good for you and baby. It brings so many benefits, and yeah, it's just really lovely. So I think that's kind of everything I want to cover. I feel like that's kind of been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. There's probably like loads more I could talk about. If you have any certain questions, then please do let me know in the comments below. Yeah, I just feel like I kind of like rambled on, but hopefully I've made sense. Hopefully it's helped you. Even, you know, I don't even know if I've really said any more tips and advice. I kind of like lost track of what I was saying a few times, but you know, even if you just watch this and know that I'm also a mum that is breastfeeding a toddler, and you know, yes, it can be difficult at times, you know, while they're being distracted, or whether it's a bit painful, or whether, you know, you kind of feel like people are watching you while you're feeding, especially like when you're a bit older. I think you do get a bit judged. Someone else did ask that actually. Yeah, you do. I do feel a bit like I'm judged. And I did have like quite a nasty comment from someone on Instagram saying, you know, you're doing it just for your own good, it's not for the baby's benefit. Sorry, it cut out again. I've not got long left either. But yeah, so if I do feel like people judge me, so that man, I think it was a man, it was just a troll because he had 0 followers and 0 posts on his Instagram. But it kind of said I was just feeding Arthur for my benefit. If I didn't agree with him, I must be suffering from postpartum depression. You know, that it wasn't like, I can't remember what else he said, but probably like it wasn't natural. All that kind of thing. A lot of people, I know you see some horrible comments about it, but you know what? No matter how long you're breastfeeding for, breast milk is good for the baby because literally it's a drink, or it's a feed, or it's comfort, and like mainly, you know, at this kind of time, you know, comfort is like a big thing. Obviously they're getting their nutrients and their calories from food, but you know, your breast milk still provides so much. It provides all the antibodies, especially in this world that we're in, you know, now. The fact that my breast milk can help protect Arthur and keep him well is incredible. So, you know, it's got so many benefits, no matter the age of the baby, whether the baby is 6 months old, 18 months old, 3 years old, 4 years old, however old, 7 years old. It's good. It's good for the baby no matter how old they are, and people just need to, you know, whatever, get lost basically, to put it nicely. But sometimes you do feel a bit judged, especially, but you know, you just got to try to ignore it and just think, you know, I mean, I ignore it because I know that it's amazing for Arthur. He likes doing it, he enjoys it, he needs it, you know, it gets him off to sleep, he likes it when he's upset, he'll still come to me for comfort, and it's lovely. I love the bond, like I love the cuddles that I have with him, and yeah, of course, you know, when it does come to end, I know that I'm going to be really upset. I know that, but that's not why I'm continuing. It's just because that's what we do, and that's how we work, really. So yeah, anyway, I hope that you found this video helpful in some shape or form. If you've got any questions, yeah, please do let me know, or message me over on Instagram, obviously, if you want to prefer to be private. But thank you so much for watching. If you are new, then I would love you to subscribe to my channel. I post lots of things about mum life. As I said, I've got a few other breastfeeding videos, which I will leave linked below. But thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.